Hello and welcome to the All the Pies YouTube channel. My name's Kev, that's Davy, and we're back with another episode of the hotly anticipated A View From. So the last time we did one of these, it got a really good reaction, and we've been dead excited to do another one. And this time we're going to be looking at the Newcastle United through the lens of a supporter from the United States of America. So I'm really excited. I know Davey's excited. Without further ado, let's get the show on the road.
God, he scored so many goals.
Hello.
I, I've
So,
I've watched you guys a couple times. I can never figure out what that little intro is saying. I've got so many
oh no,
Scored, scored so many goals.
scored so many goals.
yeah.
I
What it
like.
was, John. We've got a. I don't know if you've heard of Talk Sport before. It's a radio station over here in the UK, and it's like
Yeah.
it's like they talk about all sporting matters, but like anybody can phone in and have their say. And this one guy phoned in, and he was talking about was it Mickey Quinn that was in there? I think it was Mickey Quinn, and he was. I think he'd had a few, to be honest with you. And they were like, "Oh, do you remember Mickey Quinn?" And from nowhere, he just got really emotional. I went, "Oh God, he scored so many goals!" And we thought it was hilarious,
I thought
absolutely
you
hilarious.
you could have used that in our 8-0. Where everybody 8 people scored. That was great.
We
Yeah.
scored so many goals. So
Oh,
yeah, as I've already mentioned, we've got John here. John, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and what your crack is.
well, my name's John O'Hare. Davey knows me as Jack. I grew up. My name all through my life is Jack. When I was real small, it was Jackie. You know, but I got on the Sky Sports when I came over, and Keith Downey turned to him and he goes, "What's your full name?" And I said, "John Joseph O'Hare." And he goes, "Okay, I'm here with John O'Hare." And from then on, I've been John over over in the UK, and that's okay because I like being War John.
War
War
John. And
John. Yeah,
so, which part
everybody.
of the USA you're from, John?
Well, my father was born in Newcastle, and he came over on a boat in the 1920s, and they lived in New York, and he lived in New York till he was like 38 years old. He got married late and started having kids, and I was born in Baltimore, and so we were up and down the East Coast mostly. That's where we lived, but I moved out here to Oklahoma about 26 years ago, and that's where we live now. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but thank goodness we're near Oklahoma City, and we're in the town that has the University of Oklahoma, which has a very famous U.S. football team. Not soccer, not UK football. It's they have a really good team, and they get 85,000 people to their games every weekend. So
Not a bad
so that's
attendance.
yeah. So I'm a big baseball fan, and I of course go over there to the university and watch football. But Newcastle stole my heart, because that's where my dad's from, and I went over there in 2018. Um, my wife Sue had she has a friend that lives down in Ludlow in the UK, kind of, I guess it's west of London, and it's pretty close to Wales. So she wanted to go see her, and we took a trip out there. And then they wanted to go up to York, and we went up to York, and then I said, "That's it, we're close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're going to Newcastle." So I went up there in 2018, and it was like in August, and the season hadn't started, and I went to the club shop, wanted to get a kit, and they said, "Well, the new kits aren't out. You can pick over there at the old kits." And this was when Ashley on the team, and I
Who?
said, "I'm
Who?
yeah, I'm really waiting. I'm really waiting for the new kit. Where's the new kit?" They said, "Well, it's not out yet." And I said, "The season starts in like 2 weeks. You don't have the new kit." So anyway, I didn't buy anything that time, but I took pictures of the ground and all that. and then the the takeover happened, and I was like, "We're going." And I talked to
Well,
my wife. She knew that I wanted to go to a match, and because I've been watching them for a few years after raising the kids and everything. She said, uh, "Yeah, you really want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, we're going."
Do
And
you
she
mind
said,
if I stop you there, Jack?
"Yeah,
And because that you're at the point where we kind of
yeah,
I want to tell the story if you don't mind.
no, go ahead."
Because that's the point where we kind of, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
come
go for it.
together for
I
want
think
of
you,
a better.
I think you tell it from your perspective really well.
Yeah, well, that it's kind and it gives me something to say as well. And not that I'm short of words usually, but yeah.
You're good.
So the story goes. I don't know if you know this, Kev. I can't remember if I told you or not, but it's a great story if anybody's not heard it. My son now lives in Walsall, right? My eldest lad. So he comes up every now and then, and he comes with me to the matches. Now, my wife Sarah normally comes in with me in my wheelchair, but if Evan comes up, she's happy to basically say, you go, your dad, kind of thing, and whatever. So we collect for the food bank before every game, and Evan came up, joined in with a collection. Sarah came and collected anyway, even though she wasn't going to go at the match. And she was basically saying she was like going to try and find somewhere to watch it, or if not, she'd just go to the shops and then meet us later. And then a guy from the food bank came and says, "Oh, somebody's handed a ticket in," and said that it's a spare ticket for the Gallagher, but specifically if they want somebody who helps out with the food bank who maybe hasn't got a ticket to go to the match. So, and we know that Evan's up and Sarah wasn't going to go, so Davy, you's going to have the ticket. So I said, "Oh, that's brilliant, So I said, "Sarah, you come with me rather than you going by yourself in the Gallagher, and Evan, you'll be fine going by yourself," and blah, blah, blah. And it was the Leicester City game, the one where Bruno scored a diving header right at the very end. And so we never leave before the final whistle, but we leave very soon after so I can get the wheelchair in the car and try and get away. So we're sitting in the car, and Alex, my son's there as well, and we're waiting for Evan and thinking, where the hell is he? So time goes on, still no sign of him. So I thought, I'm going to give him a ring. I hope he's okay, I hope nothing's happened to him. So I rang him, and he answered, and he said, "Oh, you all right, Dad? I'm just finishing my drink. I'll be out in a minute." I said, "What do you mean finishing your drink?" "Well, the guy who had the ticket, it wasn't a ticket, it was for a box." I said, "A box, you bloody jammy sod." So he's had free food and drink the whole match, and he was sozzled. Basically, it was 5:30. He finally decided to amble along to the car. So he comes in, and we're waiting for him, and I thought, "You bloody little bugger, you!" And he says, "Oh, the guy who had the box," he says, "he's given us his card." I says, "Yeah, give it, and I'll send him a message later on." So I got in, and there's this card, and it's got a Twitter handle. So I message on Twitter and basically say it was my son who got the card, and yeah, that's the one. And
Yeah, on the
and I
best.
says, "Thank you very much. It was my son who got the ticket, and it was fantastic of you to offer the ticket and all this." And then I got a message back saying "OMG," and I was like, "What's going on? What's happening here?" And it's Jack. And he then says, I says, "What, why the OMG?" He says, you're one of the main reasons why I actually come to watch the football, why I come over to watch Newcastle." He says, "I'm from Oklahoma." I'll not do the theme music, but he'll be fed up with that. But And I said, what do you mean? He says, because I've seen We Are the Geordies, and there's things that you say in We Are the Geordies, Davy, that just hit
Yeah.
a note right in there with me. And he said, I'm retired, and I decided after seeing you, and because there's a moment where I talk about chasing euphoric moments in life, and I chase mine
Yeah.
through comedy and music, but mostly through football
Yeah.
and following Newcastle United. There's no feeling like watching a goal go in. And there's just nothing like it. The best moment in my life, I think the most ecstatic I've ever been, and I remember I phoned my ex-wife at the time and said, best moment of my life was watching Rob Lee score at Wembley. It was just unbelievable. Everybody just absolutely went totally batshit crazy. It was amazing. But then I had to quickly say, yeah, apart from getting married and the two
And-
kids being born. But to be honest, they're completely different things altogether. But Jack knows
Yeah.
what I'm on about. Everybody watching this knows what I'm on about. There's no greater feeling, and that's what I do. And I try and chase those euphoric moments, and it hit a nerve, and that's how we're best friends. Basically.
Well, that's an amazing story. That, and I'm really interested, John, to hear a little something about that from your perspective as well.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
you'd seen this documentary, you were
Oh
you
yeah.
know you were inspired by it, and then all of a sudden, in almost a sliding doors situation,
Oh
your paths have crossed. Tell us about that.
well, I have different memories of it, but Davy's correct in everything he said. Um, so
Because you would have been suzzled as well, being in the box all afternoon.
I love it. That's the only way I can get a ticket. I've told Davy, you got to get a membership and you got to buy like hospitality. That's like 10 times higher than buying a ticket. It's like 350 pounds or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I was walking around. So I'll go back a little bit. In 2019, no, in 2021, when the takeover happened, there's people I tell, there's three reasons I'm a Newcastle fan. It's my father, my dad. He was born there. That's where roast beef, Yorkshire pudding, that was like his family, you know. So that and I respect my dad. He was like one of the most honest people I ever knew. Just maybe one of the only. you
Yeah.
know, in life we have problems, but he
Yeah.
was a great guy. So that's one. Two, we are the Geordies, and Davey spoke to me like I didn't know him, but he spoke to me because he says those euphoric moments, and I've always put it a different way. I say I look for those moments of collective joy, and that's what it is when 52,000 people feel the
Yeah.
same way and stand up and cheer. It's like I just want that so bad in my life. And you're right, Davey. It's comedy, it's music, and it's Newcastle United that sustains us.
Yeah.
All three of those, they speak to my spirit. That's what it is. And so, yeah, my collective joy, Davey's moments of euphoria, that's the same. That's a match. So, October 7th, I'm sorry, I get emotional about it, but the takeover happens, and I'm watching these films and everything of people going nuts, and I was like, that's exactly how I feel. We've
Yeah.
gotten rid of this owner. We can now unleash the true spirit of the club and look out Premier League, right? So it's October 7th. I'm watching these films, and I turned to my wife and I said, yeah, we're going to have to go to Newcastle. She goes, well, when are we going? I said, next week.
Get in. Yes.
It was done. And I bought two tickets. I was actually at that point, you could buy some seats, because the takeover had just happened and everybody
Yeah.
hadn't, but I decided I was going to get hospitality because I didn't know how she would react to the mania that was going to happen. So it worked out great. We got really comfortable with going. That was in 2021, but that that other game, um, I remember posting a picture. I said, he said, "Are you John?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." When your son Evan came in, and I didn't know he was your son.
Yeah.
He comes in and he says, "Are you John?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, well, thanks for the ticket. The guys at the food bank gave me the ticket."
Uh-huh.
And I'm Davy's son, and he's in a wheelchair, and I didn't put two and two together. I didn't.
You still hadn't tumbled at that
Oh no,
stage.
I didn't put two. He says, "Yeah, he's a big supporter. He's in the wheelchair," and and so I said, "Well, enjoy the game, and by the way, get back there because that food out there is free. Get back in there and get some food. They're gonna clear it all away."
I think you
Once
had more drink than food by
uh,
the
That's
once
the
he gets,
Geordie in you. That's the
yeah,
Geordie genes coming through there, unintended.
yeah. So he went back and he came in. He was there ready for the game, and we watched the game. And it's funny, there was a guy not too far away from him. It's like the 93rd minute, and we're tied with Leicester City, and he gets up and walks past me, and he goes, "This is ridiculous," and he walks out. He walks out. Me and Evan and my wife, we stand there and we cannot believe Bruno scoring that header at the end,
yeah.
94th minute. It was like, oh my God. And,
Yeah.
and that's that moment of euphoria right there. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. So then that night, I always post pictures of people that I talk to and everything. I posted a picture of Evan with me. I said, "This guy here, he got a ticket and he enjoyed the game with me. It was good to meet you." And then Davy pops in. "That's my son." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're kidding?" It meant to happen. It was meant to
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
because
Well, I must say, I don't know if you can see here, but the hairs are standing on edge here. I got absolute goosebumps when you were talking about that because I think, you're right to get emotional. It was a really emotional
uh,
time for all Newcastle United fans. I've been going to the game for 26, 27 years, and there was some really difficult times during that where there were, I've always loved the match day as an occasion to meet up with friends and family. And
oh
it used
yeah,
to get to close to 3 o'clock and think, oh, I've got to go to the football now. And in a way, that was a bit that got in the way.
Yeah.
But when that takeover happened, what it gave all those fans that stuck with it and that have had that awful time over that period. You got a feeling that you might get your club back.
that's
And
it.
the scenes, I mean, so me and Si love talking about this because Si, who you'll have to meet, he's a right character. He's also part of the channel. So
Yeah.
the,
He's a
the
good
night
lad.
before, he rang me up and he says, "What do you think of this?" I says, "Oh, I says I'd been saying for ages it was still rumbling in the background." He was like, "It's not. It's over. You're deluded." And he was like, "Well, I'm not getting too carried away with it. Well, I've had my fingers burnt before. I'm not getting too
Yeah.
carried away." This was the night before, so I'm sitting watching the Sky Sports News on my TV, and what you call the reporter again? Sorry,
Keith Downey.
Downey.
yeah,
Keith
Keith
Downey.
Downey. So Keith Downey, he was at St James's Park, right? And all I hear in the background is beep 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 beep. Come on, tsunami! So I had went from not getting too excited to half an hour being at the ground interrupting the interview. And the next day, when it all got confirmed, I mean, we was again straight in the car, straight down to St James's. But
I would have
what
been
I
there.
yeah, I mean, what I want to know is what was the coverage like in USA? Was it covered much on the news?
No,
Did you see much of it, or were you having to sort of dig a little bit deeper to find out?
no, I go online and I hit the UK sites, the Sky News and BBC and all that. No, it wasn't covered hardly at all. It was no big deal. But for all of us that have the black and white jerseys that are all over this country, it was the same reaction. It was like, oh my God.
What,
And you know,
what
it's,
could possibly be happening in America at that time that was bigger?
you know, a bunch of idiots on TV, talking politics. It's so this is why this is so important to me. But yeah, Kevin, uh, I tell people three things. One, my dad, 2, Davy and his spirit, we are the Geordies, and 3, Cans Day. You know, that's it. I mean, when I saw those guys jumping up and down, it was like, we're going next week.
Yeah, it was hashtag cans. It sort of been all over social media for weeks, and I know people had to put them in chilling for nigh on a year and a half from
Yeah,
when they first sort of announced the deal, because it was during the pandemic when they first started
Yeah.
getting rumblings of maybe this PIF takeover.
yeah.
What I do want to know is, so you're down in Oklahoma. So what does a match day look like for you, John? So obviously we've got a bit of a time difference going on
Oh,
across
yeah,
the Atlantic. How
yeah.
does your match day sort of, let's say it's an average 3 o'clock kickoff. What's your
Well,
routine?
I'm an old guy, so
You're not that old.
uh,
You're only a few years older than me.
I'm 65. I'm
You don't
65.
look it, John. You don't look it.
So, well, I try not to act like it, but every morning it's hard getting out of bed. But so if it's a 3 o'clock match, that means the game comes on here at 9 a.m. So I'll get up, walk the dog, put my flag outside the house, put my jersey on. My wife puts hers on, and we sit and we watch and drink coffee and watch the match. And so that's the way I like it. Now if it's an afternoon or a night match, um, I would be happy to go out and have beer. But usually it's just us at home, and there's no. I have found out there's like 3 or 4 other people that have a connection with Newcastle in town, and we talk about, maybe we'll get together and take over a pub and get them to play the match on match day, which they do in San Diego. The San Diego Mags have a really good following, and they've got a guy that opens up the bar at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and they watch the match there. So I try to advertise for them, and this is
Uh,
my this is my podcast technology here.
yeah, the old wooden spoon.
Yeah, but yeah, they're good, and they it's fun to visit other clubs. I was just in Denver and I visited with those guys. They have a really good club. They have about 30 people show up.
Yeah, I've seen that because I thought that was really interesting that you've. I wasn't sure whether you were there for something else or whether you've literally gone around America to watch Newcastle with other fans.
Well, usually I've got a family trip going on. So recently I visited my brother in North Carolina, and I found out that, well, I'm going to be close to Charlotte. I'm going to go down and see Joseph Spinney, who does the Charlotte Mags, and he does T-shirts. I think it's Tune. Oh gosh, what is it? He creates T-shirts and really good designs. They're like
Isn't it Diacro?
that's it.
Diacro.
Dire Crow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's great. I like Joseph. I spent a little time with him and his family. He said, "Do you mind if I bring my girls along?" And I said, "No, the more the better." And we had lunch together, like you and I do, Davy.
Yeah.
And so it was really good to meet his family. So I was in Charlotte, and I got to do that. I was in Denver because my son was going to a wedding with his wife, and they have a new baby. And so my wife and I were going to watch the baby. And so I said, well, that's great. We're going to watch the baby and all that. But 8 a.m. in the morning, I'm going down to visit with the club. And I met with Josh, a guy named Josh who runs the club there. And he gave me a nice Toon Army Denver scarf. And usually it's associated with another trip, and then I look up and see if there's a Toon Army meetup there. But I guess 2 years ago, I went to San Diego because I'd seen so much on Twitter about their club, and I said, "Well, I'm going to come out to see you guys." And he goes, "All right, good." And so Sue and I went out there. Believe me, it's not a challenge to be in San Diego for a couple days. The weather's gorgeous. It wasn't hard for me to talk Sue into it. We went swimming, went to the beach, so it was great. And then 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. They said, "Hey, what are you drinking?" I said, "Well, it's like 7 in the morning." It's like, "Give me a Guinness." Yeah.
Guinness breakfast. Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. And I guess us Newcastle fans over the other side of the Atlantic in the UK here only really started to get to grips with these types of clubs over the summer when they had the summer series. And I know
Oh,
I was as well as watching the games, I was glued to social media because there was a lot of fan channels that went over there, and a lot of our community got to go and meet the community of American fans as well. And
yeah.
the term Toon Army is correct. You know what I mean? We are an army of fans that are littered
Oh, yeah.
across the world. And when we do unite, that's when the United comes into Newcastle United. Did you
Yeah,
manage to get to any of the summer series? How did you feel having the team that you love in your
daft
country?
question. Daft
Well,
question.
I only got to 3.
Just the three, yeah.
I I went to every one of them, you know? Yeah, it was great. We started out in Philadelphia. I got to know, the lady up there. I talked to her before, um, that runs the club, Kayla. Kayla is just a wonderful person. I had her on a podcast with me the other day. Um, she's got a season ticket. She lives in Philadelphia, but she's got a season ticket to Newcastle because her first game was the same game I went to, the Tottenham game, where right after the takeover, Steve Bruce is still coaching the team.
Oh,
And right out of the box, we score a goal. Callum Wilson scores a goal, and the place went nuts because, we're going to be all right now. We're going to be okay. And this Steve Bruce isn't going to last throughout the week. And so it was a great adventure. And that was one of the first games she went to. And it was my first game with Sue. And so Philadelphia was great. What's funny is we all get together. It's just like me talking to you guys. It's like we're hugging and high fiving, buying each other beer, and everybody is the same. Everybody's a brother or a sister over here. It's the same as over there. It was great. So we went from there. I talked to all the podcasters. Lee from, I think it's NUFC TV.
NFTV, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Adam Pearson, I saw him everywhere. Saw Keith Downey a few times. Talked to Eddie Hope, does the Tyneside Live. All those guys were over here.
yeah.
Um,
Eddie's a lovely guy.
Eddie Hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I like him and Helen. Yeah, we talked to
Yeah.
them a lot. And I met some people. I met a family from Pontyland. What's Andy McKee. I'm going to have them to dinner when we come over. They're just lovely. They were wonderful people. It's fun to visit with them. So we went to Atlanta. I got into the practice, training, as you call it, training.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They had a training and they gave out like 200 tickets, and I was lucky enough to get one. And so was the guys from California that I know. And we just ran around, and we got to meet the team. They had a long line of people, but if you jump around, you could meet. Hey, you take a picture with Bruno. You could take a picture with. I wanted a picture with Eddie Howe, and I got one. So that was a big deal. And
Yeah.
it was funny. We later, me and the California guys went to a restaurant, and we were talking. I got to see him. Look at us. We look like 12-year-old girls.
I'd be exactly the
The
same, mate.
Beatles.
Yeah, I'd be exactly the same.
We're
Well,
just so
while you
I
talking
was
about the
just
Atlanta one, go on, Davey.
no, sorry, I was going to go on to something else. I thought you'd go on. You.
No, the one thing about the Atlanta game, which I thought was like a really nice sort of bit of cross culture. So on a match day in Newcastle, it is very much about having a drink, and you'll see majority of the fans in and around the
sure.
pubs of St James's Park. You've got so many options there. But you had something a little bit different in America, and I think there's, correct us if I'm wrong, probably comes from the NFL and American football. Tailgate, is that, have I got
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
correct
yeah.
term there? Where yeah, there's a lot of drinking effectively looks as like going on, and it was great seeing fans from the northeast going over and getting involved in that part of the culture, and a lot
Yeah.
of fun, I must say.
Well,
What is it? I don't know where it is.
well, you guys have like 100 pubs around the stadium, right? So everybody goes to their favorite pub. They drink beer with their friends, and then they go to the match. Well, what we have is these big, gigantic parking lots outside of big stadiums, like 85,000, 90,000 stadium, and everybody parks their car, gets there early, opens their tailgate, which is the back end of the car.
All right.
Opens the tailgate, pulls out chairs, umbrella, little carpet, a grill, and starts cooking food. I used to go to Philadelphia Eagles games. My buddy Mark, who lives up there in Philly, we would get there at 9 in the morning for a 1 o'clock kickoff. And then we didn't get home until 1 in the morning. So it was like all day. It was like there was more going on after the game than but that's what a tailgate is.
All right. I didn't know about that. That sounds cracking, that.
Yeah, you bring all your beer and all your meat you want to cook, and somebody's got a potato salad and a salad and chips.
Yeah.
And a hose pipe. Somebody was drinking from a hose pipe. I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
that.
Well, no, that's what they do is they pump up the keg full of air, and then give the nozzle, and you
Pump up the
drink
bitter.
out of it. Yeah, you drink out of that. So you try and stay on it as long as you can, but after about 10 seconds, it fills everything up.
Coming out your nose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
was gonna just to move on, Jack.
Yeah.
I know we'll have spoken about this before, but I'm not even sure if I've asked you this. Before the internet, did you follow Newcastle just looking for scores and things then, or and then when did you actually start watching matches? Was it because the internet kind of came around the time I remember where it was accessible for people around the Keegan era.
Yeah.
So were you able to watch matches around that sort of time, or was it just no way?
I would just see little clips of them. I didn't watch, so I missed, I love like Alan Shearer and Keegan and all that era, but I didn't realize that if you buy this cable package, you can get at midnight, you can get little clips of, games from over in the UK. And some guys were religious followers. That's something I want to say is these guys in California that I know, Dan Devlin, who I brought over with his wife, Tara. Dan, 30 years he's been following it because he grew up living in Germany on a U.S. Air Force base or something. And because of that connection, he learned all about football, the beautiful game. And, over here, we've got hockey, basketball, football, baseball, and I was a baseball nut. So I didn't even have time or even understand that I could, search for this and try and get it. I always had a cable package that would give me all the U.S. sports, but I didn't really follow. Now, I did have in 1980, that's me, the young guy right there.
Right.
And that's my son, who's now 39 years old.
God, look at that, eh?
And I'm wearing the black and white because in 82 or something, my parents both went over to England and they brought back jerseys. And one of them was the silver NUF jersey, and the other was the black and white stripe. Well, my youngest brother is the one who asked for these two shirts. He said, "Give me some shirts," But I got home and my mom was there and she was taking them out, and I was like, I want that one, and I grabbed it. It was the black and white, the iconic, and I found out later.
That's when Keegan signed 82. So it's that same time.
Yeah, NUF. So we could only get like you'd see a little blurb in the New York Times or something about a game or about the standings, but that was about it. I didn't realize, but creative people like Dan Devlin, was searching anywhere to get these games, and he kept up with it. Shade from San Diego, same thing. You know, he would search out and find ways to stay connected because he went to uni over there in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And so ever since he came back, he's been like finding ways to follow the matches. It wasn't until like 2017, 2018, 2019 when miserable seasons and we're just worried about being relegated that I really started watching because we got NBC and Peacock has the games on all the time. And my son Danny, um, who's a big soccer fan and played for a while when he was young, he follows it religiously, and so I started following. He used to follow a lot of the Chelsea matches back in like
Oh,
2010, 2011, 2013, and they were really good. They were actually fun to watch. But I said, no, that's not my team. No, that's you can have a London team. I'll give you that, son. But your family team is Newcastle.
yeah,
Yeah.
And he knows that now. So there we are.
yeah.
That's
Brilliant.
that's me and Dan.
And
And
that's your tag. That's your pinned post, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It is. You're right. On Twitter. Yeah, he's just I'm very proud of him. He just had the grandson, so that's our first
Yeah,
grandchild. So
Well,
great.
the games aren't as difficult to get a hold of. Like you said, you've got NBC over there, you've got Peacock, and by all accounts, I was watching some of the NBC coverage of the last was it the Champions League game, and it was incredible. I wish the UK would be a bit more fun with it, like they are on them. But what a time to have all of these games at your sort of fingertips, so to
oh,
speak, because the
that's
change
great.
in look from what we've had to
Yeah,
last season, which is what I want to move on to next, is absolutely night and day. Because last season, I remember if we go back to the beginning of last season, a lot of fans were saying, I think we might get top eight. I was actually quite confident that we would be in the top six because I was looking at reform from January onwards, and it had we in the top four, and I thought, well, we're going to strengthen the team. We're going to. There's no reason why reform would dramatically dip. Everything sort of banged on for a top six. Not in my wildest dreams did I think we're going to be where we are today. But what I want to know from you, John, is, I mean, we could sit for hours and talk about last season, but I would like to know what your three top moments of last season were for you.
Oh, was I'm getting all my games mixed up, but
I'm the same. I'm terrible. I can't
because
remember last week.
so uh, last year I took uh, I took a couple people over. I had extra tickets. I buy tickets when I can get them. I'll just buy them all up, and then hey, I'll find people to go. And I went with Dan Devlin from Monterey, California, to two matches. That's another thing I've been doing is trying to get match back to back. I'll spend a week in Newcastle, and I'll see one on one weekend and one on the next weekend. And then at the end of the year, I went to I saw the final two games. So yeah, that was with Dan, and then the final game I brought a guy from Connecticut, uh, Jamie Malone, and
Yeah,
so we watched the Brighton match, which was awesome, because it was a tough match.
yeah,
Both both teams played good. I mean, Brighton is a very good team, and it was 2-1, and then all of a sudden we got two more goals. It was 4-1. Game
yeah,
was done, and that was beautiful because now it looks like I think we only need a tie, against Chelsea, and we'll be in the. So that was fun. That was great. Um, I've watched some games from here that were just fantastic. Like the end of the year, I think the year before when we beat Arsenal 2-0 at home.
Brilliant game.
That was just fantastic. I mean, we took it to them. We
yeah,
just we just tore them up. So that was a good
The,
game.
the display in that game, I remember as well, was fantastic when they had the blue star in the Leazes end.
Yeah,
And some of my girlfriend's family are from down south, and yeah, Daniel, who's actually been on the podcast before when we played Arsenal, I had him up as a guest for that game, and we went out. went around the town, had a bite to eat and everything. And as we were in one of the pubs right next to the ground, which was a neutral pub, there was both Arsenal and Newcastle fans. And, you know, he was just having a bit of crack with the Newcastle fans. And he noticed that we were like rather confident that we were going to win. And he turned around to me and he says, Kevin, should I be worried? Are we going to get beat today? I was like, you should be very worried. There's going to be a big display. We're going to be up for it. You're probably not going to be having a happy journey back. So I've got great memories of that game, John.
Well, and last year I bought tickets to the Liverpool match because you remember when we went to Liverpool, we had that last second loss, 3-2.
Yeah, I was there.
And I was so mad because they added like 8 minutes, you know. It was like unreal. They let them just have the ball until they scored, basically.
The Isak goal getting chalked off was the biggest for me, but we'll not go there. We know what happened.
Yeah. So they lost that match, right? So right then I said, well, I'm going to the Liverpool match when they come to St. James. And I was so excited. I was like, this crowd will be just like, you know, like we saw at the PSG match. They will show up and they are ready to beat this Liverpool team.
Yeah.
And then Pope comes out and gets a red card right off the bat. And I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money I spend on this?
Demand a refund.
No, it just felt like, there's no way we're going to, you know, we ended up playing pretty well with only 10 men, but
Probably deserved to win that game.
You knew the game was over at that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, one of the highlights for me last season, although the scoreline didn't go our way, had to be the first final in what, nearly 20 years, was it? And me and Si went down to Wembley for the game.
I was down there.
Were you down there as well? It was emotional, wasn't it? I mean, although the scoreline didn't go our way, it was just something special to be back in a final. How was it for you, John?
It was beautiful. So I tried to buy tickets to 2 matches back to back. The second match was going to be the Brighton match. They had to cancel that because that's when they were going to have the championship down in London. So I was already there. I said, we're going down to London. We're not, we're going to be around there. And we went to Trafalgar Square, and that was just nuts. I mean, again, just like over here when when the team came over here and all of us Americans got to celebrate with it. That's what everybody was doing down there. You get on the tube and everybody's singing the chants for Newcastle and everything. You get up, and I didn't see a red jersey anywhere down there. Not until the match day. And then I saw a few people walking in, but it was like wall to wall. More Geordies went down there than got into the game by far. I mean, it was, that was one of the best moments. And I couldn't even go. I couldn't go to the match. So I found out the London club, there's a lot of really good people in the London club, and they'll treat you like you're their brother. So I connected with them, and they had rented out this thing called the Dome in London. They rented it out and they renamed it the Geordie Dome. And it's a venue that like they can have up to 600 people for music, but they played the game and they had an open bar, and you pay to get in, and there were only 400 tickets given out because they said, we don't want it to be too crazy, wall to wall and people getting upset with each other. But 400 people, we were singing songs and watching the game. And then with 2 minutes left, when, it was obvious we're going to lose, but everybody picked up the black and white
flags.
It was just so wonderful.
And Davy was emotional. Yeah.
Davy was there. I was texting back and forth. He texted a few pictures from the inside, but I was at the Dome, not too far away. That was a magical moment, and it goes to that collective joy, that community of people that all want the same thing, and it was wonderful.
It was amazing because even though we lost, the experience was still, it was just fantastic. And I mean, I just can't imagine, like I said before, being in Wembley and seeing Rob Lee score, first time since Alan Gowland in 76. My mate Bob, He was a solicitor, really lovely guy, quiet, softly spoken, lovely bloke, really good mate of mine. He was with me, and his two sons were about 5 rows further down. He literally launched himself into the air. Right? Everybody, there were people lying in the aisles, and we were still celebrating. And then Chelsea scored, and we're like, "What's going on? They kind of do this. We're still celebrating. What's going on?" But I just can't imagine what it would be like if we actually win something. It would just be unbelievable. And I think across the world, there's people all over the world will be joining in, and it's like you say, it's that collective joy.
Yeah.
And I just imagine, that just filtering right around the world when we actually finally do win something, and we will. It'll not take long. We will.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I hope you managed to get there as well, Jack. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sorry, go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, you were talking at the beginning of the podcast. Really great words about these moments of euphoria. You were saying, Dave and John. This collective joy, and it seems recently they just keep coming and coming and coming. Moving on from last season. I mean, one of my favorite moments was the Tottenham game because that was just unbelievable. But we can't have you on, John, without talking about probably one of the biggest euphoric moments of collective joy we've had in a long time, which happened only just a week ago, when we made our return in St James's Park to the Champions League. I mean, the excitement, the build-up, and everything. Sometimes now, in the past, being a Newcastle United fan, I've had days like this where the excitement's there and the build-up, and it all comes crashing down. But last week was not one of those nights. I just want to know, what was it like for you? How did you see it all?
It was the opposite of that Liverpool match that I went to, because the buildup was great. And you knew that whole stadium was going to be against Liverpool, and we were going to beat them. And then, we had the mishap with Pope, and we get a red card. So the opposite happened here. It was like, here's the buildup, and this is big time. War flags came out big time. They everybody had something to hold there. And there was nobody was going to let us lose that game, and it was just wonderful to watch. But, I get a little emotional watching those games because I'm watching with maybe a friend or something, and they don't necessarily understand the connection. And I'm just like, I want to be there. I get to watch the game, but look at that. I got to be in the middle of that. But
I feel so fortunate. It's not just been there last week, but I was lucky enough that my dad started taking me in 1975 when I was 6 years old. Yeah. So I've seen all the ups and downs. I've seen it all, and I think when you've seen all of that and you've experienced all the bad, like you say about the Liverpool game, with season after season, and it's up and down and it's up and down. But that's football. There's always got to be a winner. There's always got to be a loser. There's only one team going to win the league at the end of every season. That kind of thing. But I feel privileged that I've managed to be taken there when I was very young and continue to go myself. And I wish we had a stadium that was, big enough for everybody to go. But how big would it have to be? Because you've got people all over the place, And because last week, the PSG game, it was one of those matches where the emotion was unbelievable. Everybody was there were people around me, we were in tears when the music came out, and I was just kind of stunned. I felt stunned, because I've seen it before, when we were in the Champions League and that before, and I thought Barcelona will never ever get anything as good as that Barcelona game. I thought the PSG game was better. I thought the whole thing, the whole occasion, as you say, the war flags, everything about it was just amazing.
How about Dan Burn and Longstaff?
Oh, man. I know. when the
Something like
fourth goal went in, me and everybody around, we were just laughing. We
Yeah.
literally were just laughing, you know. But I keep thinking of the people who, like yourself, who aren't there, and I kind of think, I wish they were all here. I wish everybody could get in. You know, people going in for ballots, for tickets. I wish we could just have everybody there. It would just be amazing, you know. So hopefully that, you know, we'll go somewhere towards that.
Well,
But
I hope they don't build the stadium so big that it loses its feel. You know,
I
you
agree.
can overdo it, and that's what happens with a lot of. We've had a chance to really screw some things up, but this new ownership and management team
yeah,
has always taken the right turn, and always done the right thing. It was like we could buy this guy, we could do this, and it's like no, let's just get these people in and just
yeah,
keep building. But all this stadium talk gets me a little upset sometimes because it's like don't build like 85,000, 90,000 stadium and then we have an off year and it's all empty, you know. Or
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah,
It's not
but
just
yeah,
that, John. I think with the stadium, because I've been thinking about this a lot as well. And you know, fair enough. An extension of what they're talking about, 6,500, isn't too bad. But
right,
we were just playing West Ham at the weekend, in their ground compared to the old one, it just isn't the same.
yeah,
And you've got like this gap between the pitch and the stands where the fans are. And
yeah,
you can say the same for the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You
right,
know, you just can't create that atmosphere there. With St James's Park, you're on top of the players.
oh
You're
yeah,
right in there. You know,
yeah,
it's hard for them to take a throw in even because the fans are on there. And there's something about having those fans almost peering down on you. It's like they're on top of you, like like lions waiting to maul you. And
yeah,
you're right what you're saying, John.
oh yeah.
We've got to keep that as a tool to use
we
against teams.
we see it over here. They build a new football stadium or a new baseball stadium, and the team moves to that, and they're all excited because they're in a new stadium, but it loses the connection completely, and it takes a few years to build up. And if the team's not good, it might not build up forever, you know. But yeah, I would love it if they put like 8,000 more seats in somehow, and get it up to 60, but also maybe have like 4,000 seats that they have like a lottery or something, so people get a
yeah,
chance. You get a chance to go to 3 games a year or something like that, you know,
Mhm.
and you can plan around that. And that way, everybody does get a feel for it. Everybody does get a visit,
yeah.
because those season tickets, you can't buy them. I talked to Kayla in Philadelphia, and she goes, you know, how Kayla did you get that season ticket? And she goes, well, John, you remember in 2021, you know, they were offering a half season ticket,
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the
For
year.
free.
And it's like you could buy them, you know, and so I bought one. And I said, well, how can I get connected? How could I get a season ticket? And she goes, well, first, go back to 2021. And
Build a time machine.
okay, you
Yeah.
smart Alec.
Yeah. Well, look, time's moving along, but there is, before we let you go, John, I am eager to know what are your predictions for this season? Where do you think we might go? Firstly in Champions League, secondly in the league, and do you see us having any joy in any of the cups?
Wow, that's a really tough question because each of these years has been so difficult to predict. I didn't predict we'd be top 4 last year. I thought, you know, if you're in, we finished 11 the season before. It's like if we can get into the top 10 this year, that'd be great. And
Yeah.
boom, we went up to top 4. You know, and we got in Champions League. Um, well, I would have said if we just get out of our group in Champions League, it would have been great. But now it's like, ooh, maybe that's quite possible, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'll say maybe we get out of the group, you know, and we play on. Um, these games are going to be tough, you know that,
Yeah.
but we got a good start, so I'll say that. In Premier League, uh, top 6 would be good. I would take it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
I
I
agree with
would
that as well.
I would take it, and top 5 would be awesome because maybe we get into Champions League again
That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
this year. They expanded that, I guess.
Extra one. Yeah.
um, what was the other? Do we win a cup? Uh, it's quite possible, like the FA, you know, um, maybe Carabao
I,
Cup.
Well,
I'm thinking if we beat Man United
Yeah,
this too. That's a big one coming up. I think we can beat just about anybody. I think that, there are teams that are doing really, really well, but we got there last season.
I watch every week because in any week I know that we can beat the other team. In any week I know that we can have a hard time with the other team too. So it's very exciting to watch. You just never know what's going to happen. But I was very disappointed with the Carabao Cup where we get the 2 draws that we did, back to back. That's just it's like they're trying to take us out of that.
Well, I mean, I was the same. I was like, this isn't an easy tie we're getting at all. But eventually you're probably going to have to play these teams. And I think if you play them earlier on, it takes off that pressure of playing a final against a Man U or a Man City, and we will have revenge on our minds when we play them away in the Carabao Cup. And I've got a feeling we'll turn them over. And I honestly think if we are going to get close to silverware, it's probably going to be the same route as last year in that Carabao Cup. Now, I always used to sort of dismiss it a little bit, probably because we used to get knocked out straight away. And I was like, it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. I didn't want it anyways. Right. But now that we're competing in it, I'm a little bit in love with it, to be honest with you.
We'll take it.
Definitely.
That would be a big morale boost. It really would. That would be a good thing if we won that.
It would indeed, and roll on the good times. Look, John, I could sit and talk to you all day and all night because it's great speaking to fellow Newcastle fans, especially from different parts, and like I say, having a little look at what it's like to be a fan through a bit of a slightly different lens from a different part of the world. But time is sort of creeping up onward. So what I am going to do,
I'm just going to say though, the gel being Newcastle United, this guy sitting here is one of my best friends now.
You know
what I mean?
Davy's the best. We get together every time I come over, him and Sora, and it's so good. It's so good to see him.
Yeah.
Well, the next time you come over, John, I want to come for a pint as well.
November.
We'll have a pint in November.
We'll bring Sai as well.
We'll bring Sai. Yeah. You like Sai. You like Sai.
Do it. I've watched you guys recently. It's been a lot of fun. So
good. Well, thanks so much for coming on, John. It's been an absolute pleasure. Anybody who's still made it on the video, thank you very much. If you'd like to give it a like or leave a little comment in the comment section and give it a share and a subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It gets our content out to other like-minded supporters. Me and Davy will be back probably for a preview of the Crystal Palace game, which is our next game back, which will be on Saturday, the something of October. I can't get my calendar out here. So we'll have a full review of that, and Newcastle United will hopefully be back in the Premier League, back to winning ways. But until then, thanks again. Come on.
Howie. Cheers, Jack.
All the